the Continental Celebrity Club. The Continental Can Company presents the Continental Celebrity Club with our own young comedy star Jackie Kelp, the songs of Margaret Whiting, the music of Ray Bloch's orchestra, and as our special guest this week, the Hollywood star Diana Lynn. And here is your host, John Daly.
Thank you, Bill Cullen, and good evening, everyone. Margaret Whiting's father was one of the great popular songwriters of the 1920s. And our Margaret lifts the curtain tonight with one of his very best, Sleepy Town Gal.
Sleepy Town Gal, you're turning night into day. Sleepy Time Gal, you've danced the evening away. Before each silvery star fades out of sight, please give me one little kiss, then let us whisper goodnight. It's getting late and dear, your pillow's waiting. Sleepy time, gal, when all your dancing is through. Sleepy time, gal, I'll find a cottage for you. You'll learn to cook and to sew. What's more, you'll love it, I know. When you're a stay-at-home, play-at-home, 8 o'clock sleepy time, gal. Sleepy time, gal, when all your dancing is through. Sleepy time, gal, I'll find a cottage for you. You'll learn to cook and to sew. What's more, you'll love it, I know. When you're a stay-at-home, play-at-home, stay-at-home, play-at-home, 8 o'clock sleepy time, gal.
Friends, you're listening to the Continental Celebrity Club, brought to you by the Continental Can Company, makers of unbreakable, tamper-proof metal cans, of paper and fiber containers, of bottle caps, and of plastics. The containers made by Continental Can Company bring you many products you use every day. Lots of your favorite food products are packed in containers made by Continental Can. So are many nationally famous drugs, motor oils, paints, and thousands of other things. For Continental containers serve behind the scenes, behind the labels of America's finest products.
This is not the handy hints to the housewife department of the Continental Celebrity Club, but here's our favorite recipe for laughs. Take one very thin young man, mix him well with a weird set of relatives and girlfriends, add a nasal voice, a pair of baggy pants, a loud sports jacket, and a quart of plasma every other day or so, and you have Jackie Kelp.
Hello. I can't stay very long tonight, Mr. Daly. I drove down here in my father's car, and right outside the studio it turned over. If I don't get it straightened out pretty soon, he'll be furious.
Where is your father, Jackie?
Under the car. Well, that car's given me more trouble lately. Last night I took a girl for a ride, and we decided to park for a while. And the cop gave me a ticket.
Well, they can't give you a ticket for parking with a girl.
In the Holland Tunnel? You know, my father's an expert on cars. During the war, the automobile industry called him in as $1 a year man. The very first day he made a speech.
And what happened?
They cut his salary.
Well, Jackie, what's your father doing now? Is he working?
Well, he has no regular job, Mr. Daly, but that doesn't mean he's lazy. Every day he's up at the crack of dawn.
And then?
He stuffs up the crack and goes back to sleep. You see, he's a sort of an inventor. Last year he got $1,000 from a big dairy company. It was his idea to put radios in the cow barns to increase milk production.
Radios to increase milk production?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what program would the cows listen to?
Double or Nothing. The year before that, he had a swell idea, but it got him arrested.
What was that?
Well, he caught sparrows, dipped them in peroxide, and sold them for canaries.
But, Jackie, doesn't anyone in your family hold down a regular job?
Oh, I've been working as a wrapper in a department store, but I got fired. Last Christmas, a woman bought a set of dishes. After I wrapped it, I made sure to mark it China.
Well, why were you fired?
This morning, the dishes arrived in Shanghai. My sister works, too. She works in a factory that makes women's wear. Boy, you ought to see the ladies' silk petticoats they're making out of old parachutes.
What about them?
On the bottom of each one, it says, count 10 before taking off. You know, it must be awful nice not to have to work and be rich like Ray Block.
Why, has Ray really got a lot of cash?
Oh, sure. And he keeps it hidden all over his house. Behind the bookcase, under the rug, in his closet. And right here in his dressing room, he has a cold cream jar full of $5 bills.
A cold cream jar?
Mm-hmm. He has the only $5 bills in the world on which Lincoln has the skin you love to touch.
Now, Jackie, I'll admit I have a few dollars tucked away. What good is it all? You know my secret sorrow.
I know, Mr. Block. You'd gladly exchange your fortune and even your lavish home for a few strands of glossy hair upon your shiny dome.
How true, my boy. How true. Girls won't go out with me since I lost my hair. Every night I go home and fling myself on my bed and cry.
Oh, Mr. Block, you shouldn't do that.
Why not?
You'll get the money under your mattress all soggy. How about that girl I introduced you to, Lana Schmierbacher?
Lana Schmierbacher! Lana Schmierbacher! Don't you mention that name to me. I made a date to meet her in front of the drugstore last Saturday night. I waited for 3 hours in the rain. There was no sign of her. Nobody makes a fool out of me, though.
What'd you do?
I stood her up. Goodbye now.
Oh, poor Mr. Block. You know, with all his money, he acts so old-fashioned with women. He says to them, marry me and I'll put your name in lights.
Well, if you had his money, how would you propose?
Marry me and I'll put your teeth in steak. Oh, but, you know, I'm going to try and do something for Mr. Block, Mr. Daly. I'm going to try and get him a date with our guest tonight, Diana Lynn.
Oh, you mean you'll be John Alden speaking for Miles Standish?
You could say that. I'll say, Diana, I've got a friend who's crazy about you. He's a wonderful guy, the finest man alive. And I'll drive you over to his house to meet him.
And I'll bet $1 that while you're driving, you'll forget all about Ray Block. You'll go down a dark street, find something wrong with the motor, and while Miss Lynn isn't looking, you'll try to kiss her.
Here's your $1, Mr. Daly.
Oh, did I guess right?
No, but boy, that idea's worth $1. So long.
Ray Block, who has been playing games with sharps and flats again, comes up now with his very different arrangement of Turkey in the Straw.
That'll do. One more change and right you go.
Did you ever realize that when you buy a can of food, you're also buying the pressure cooker that food was cooked in? That's right. Each individual can is really a miniature pressure cooker because the foods actually are cooked after they're hermetically sealed right in the can. Preparing tasty, nutritious foods in this manner is important to you because you can be sure that food in Continental cans is getting the finest protection known to modern science. No outside food-destroying bacteria can get into that food. None of the tasty, nutritious food values can escape. And most important, when you open a can of food, you can be sure it has never been opened before.
And now meet our very special guest, Miss Diana Lynn.
Thank you, and hello, everybody.
Take over, Diana.
Robert Sloane has written me an original radio play entitled With All My Heart. And now, John, if you'll set the scene, we'll do it for you.
The doors of the auditorium haven't opened yet, but the stage is set for a piano recital. Tonight, young 19-year-old Patricia Corbett is making her debut as a pianist. And as she waits in her dressing room for the next long hour to pass, the boy she plans to marry tenders her a box of flowers.
Oh, Bill, they're beautiful.
Well, they ought to be, darling. Pretty nearly drove that florist crazy.
Well, I'm glad you did. Nobody but you would have thought of white lilacs.
Oh, remember what they mean?
Oh, Bill, of course. That was the day you told me I was going to marry you.
Oh, yeah, but remember what you told me?
Mm-hmm. I said you needed a haircut.
No, that wasn't all you said.
What was the rest of it?
Well, it'd sound funny if you're not in my arms.
Oh, yes, I remember now.
Want to say it again?
Oh, no, Bill, please. You'll wrinkle my dress.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks ever so much for the lilacs, darling. It was sweet of you to think of that day.
Well, won't be lilacs anymore, Pat. From now on, it's going to be roses and orchids for you.
Oh, you say that as if everything were going to be different after tonight.
Well, won't it be?
Oh, not for us. This is just the beginning.
Of what? The end?
Of course not. Of my career. Our career.
Oh, you mean you're really going to marry this little old boy from back home?
Well, of course I am. I have wonderful plans for us, darling. If the recital goes well tonight, Mr. Nordorf wants me to do another concert in New York next month. And after that, we can get married.
Oh. And after that, I suppose you'll do another concert in Buffalo. Or Chicago, or even Vienna.
But you'll come along.
Yeah, and do what?
Well, he'll help me manage things.
How? By hanging around and watching you practice? By standing in the wings at a recital and smiling? Figuring out your income tax?
Oh, Bill, it won't be like that.
Oh, it's been like that for almost a year. Pat, I've hardly ever seen you.
But, Bill, I do have to practice. And when Mr. Nordorf wants to work with me, I can't turn him down. Well, it's so important to work with the right people and keep at it all the time.
Yes, I understand. Just isn't any time for me.
Bill, you act as if it's all been fun for me.
Well, then why do you do it?
Because a pianist has to be great. It isn't enough to be just good.
And being great is pretty important to you, isn't it?
Well, what's wrong with that?
Oh, nothing, I suppose. Only it's hard for a guy who loves you to play a second fiddle all the time. Especially to a piano that doesn't care a hang about you.
That isn't the idea, Bill.
Well, then what is? Sooner or later, Pat, you have to make up your mind which one you want.
Oh, darling, you're not being fair. Don't ask me to choose between you and the other half of my life.
I have to ask you, Pat. What's your answer?
Well, I can't give you one. Ever since I can remember, I've been playing the piano. It's all I've ever wanted to do. And then you come along and ask me to give up something that other people devote their whole lives to. Don't you understand, Bill? I've put all my heart into it.
Then I guess that's my answer. If you put all your heart into it, what's left for me?
Patricia, why did you run away? You should have taken another encore.
Oh, well, I couldn't, Mr. Nordoff. I thought Bill might be waiting for me here, but I guess he meant what he said.
Oh, you have quarreled with him?
It wasn't a quarrel. He just walked right out of my life.
Why?
Because he doesn't want me to be a great pianist. He wants me to be his wife.
You love this boy?
Oh, so much, Mr. Nordoff.
Then I would advise you to run after him as fast as you can.
And give up my music?
Well, if it has to be, yes.
Mr. Nordoff, what do you mean?
Patricia, I must be honest with you. Tonight I discovered something about your music that I never knew before.
Oh, you think I played badly?
Oh, how could you play badly? You're one of the finest pupils I ever had.
Well, then why are you disappointed?
Because you have learned everything I can teach you. You have learned to be a fine technician, but, well, that is not enough, Patricia. Not enough for greatness.
Then it wasn't a success tonight.
Not for me.
But the applause, Mr. Nordoff, it seemed so genuine.
Oh, it was genuine, my dear. But for a pianist making her debut, applause means nothing. Unless it comes from the 5 or 6 people out there who really know.
And they didn't like me?
Oh, they admired your technique. They would say that you are a competent player, but...
But what? What is wrong with my playing?
Something you can never overcome, Patricia. There's no heart in it.
Bill.
Well, Pat, I hoped you'd be home.
Well, come in, Bill, please.
Sure. Oh, here, I thought you might like some more lilacs.
Oh, I'd love them. Did you read the notices?
Oh, what do they mean? A lot of guys who are too bored to know a good thing when they hear it.
No, it wasn't a good thing. You'd know if you'd stayed and heard me.
I did stay. I was in back of the house.
Then why are you trying to fool me, Bill? You know when I play well.
Look, Pat, you were nervous, that's all. Now, next time it'll be different.
There won't be a next time. That was my last recital.
But, honey, you just weren't yourself last night. Well, gosh, when you play for me, it's always so warm and full. It makes you feel wonderful inside.
And last night you didn't feel that way.
Well,
Well, I know you didn't, Bill. Last night I did what a really great artist would never have done. I gave a bad performance. A performance that didn't have any heart in it. And the worst part of it is I did it on purpose.
oh, Pat, darling. Why?
Because I do have a heart, Bill. But what the critics don't know is I'm saving it all for you.
Miss Lynn, thank you for a fine performance. And now, on the bare possibility that you have just one evening open for a date while you're in New York, I'd like you to meet Jackie Kelk. Here he is. What do you think of him?
Mr. Daly, I know a handsome man when I see one.
Oh, thanks, Miss Lynn.
But I don't see one.
Oh, Professor Nordoff was right. No heart. Don't you remember me, Miss Lynn? We met last Wednesday at the White House at the March of Dimes luncheon.
Oh, yes, of course.
I knew you'd remember.
Certainly. You were one of the nicest waiters I ever had.
But I wasn't a waiter. I was a guest at the luncheon, just like you. And after everybody else left, I stayed on to entertain President Truman. It was a command performance.
Oh, stop.
That was the command. Anyway, now we meet again, Miss Lynn, and I want to ask you if you'd like to go out sometime with Ray Block.
Ray Block? You mean that distinguished-looking gentleman with the high forehead?
Wait till he turns around, Miss Lynn. That high forehead runs all the way to his back collar button. But you like going on a date with him. After all, he's an orchestra leader, and you play the piano.
Oh, but Mr. Block plays popular music. I prefer Stravinsky, Shostakovich, and Tchaikovsky.
Well, bring them along. I'll get girls for them, too.
Jackie, a small kitchen is a kitchenette. A small dining room is a dinette.
So?
You have a brainette. Really. Really, I have no respect for a man who doesn't know good music.
Oh, is that so, Patricia Corbett? Then why didn't you marry Professor Nordoff?
What are you talking about?
That was a fine way to treat Professor Nordoff. He was an old man, even older than Ray Bloch. A genius who could play piano with both hands and turn the pages with his nose. He could have made you famous. Carnegie Hall, performances before royalty, maybe even a job with Phil Spitalny. But no, you broke his heart. Poor old Professor Nordoff. And where is he now? Back at his old job, bat boy for the Yankees.
Oh, I was a fool, Jackie. If only I'd met you years ago so you could advise me how to lead my life.
Well, it's still not too late, my dear. Just remember that this is a man's world. Men make the best doctors, the best scientists, the best writers, the best lawyers. Men make the best everything.
Jackie,
Yes?
when you get to Mother's, be careful, will you? Good night.
Good night, Diana.
Of all the sounds you associate with an ocean-going passenger ship, here's the least one you'd expect to hear.
Why, that's a cow. Who ever heard of a cow on a modern ocean liner?
On a modern liner, no. But in the old days, yes. You see, the only way then to provide milk for a voyage was to carry cows on the ship. But even so, there was no ice to keep the milk from souring, and no means of protecting it against contamination.
That must have been pretty difficult for the babies and children aboard.
You're right. Because of the lack of fresh milk, babies making those early crossings had a hard time of it. The loss of infant lives is what actually inspired the idea of preserving milk. Since then, milk has been taken out of the perishable class. Through evaporation and canning, milk is preserved, pure and wholesome, for year-round use. And today, children and older folks alike have benefited by that original inspiration.
I'll say we have. Now it's simple to travel with babies on trains, ships, or even airplanes.
Yes, for baby's diet or hundreds of other uses, the best canned milk brands come in Continental cans. The unbreakable, tamper-proof metal containers that protect the milk from light and air and keep that milk pure and wholesome. For hermetically sealed cans made by Continental are your assurance that the milk inside is getting the finest protection known to modern science. So just remember, the best canned milk brands come in Continental cans.
Now, our Continental Celebrity Club stage is set for an encore from Margaret Whiting. A ballad, Margaret?
A ballad, John. It's called I Can't Begin to Tell You.
Say, Margaret, is music your career, or would you give it up for a man like me?
I'd give it up for a man like you, Jackie, if he wasn't too much like you.
That's all. Margaret, are you mad at me because I spoke to Diana Lynn? After all, she was our guest on the show. Margaret, speak to me.
She's jealous, Jackie.
Oh, it's no use, Mr. Daly. I get blamed for everything. It's always been that way with me. Even when I was a baby, they were pinning things on me. Go ahead and sing, Curly Top.
I can't begin to tell you how much you mean to me. My world would end if ever we were through. I can't begin to tell you how happy I would be if I could speak my mind like others do. I make such pretty speeches whenever we're apart. But when you're near, the words I choose refuse to leave my heart. So take the sweetest phrases the world has ever known and make believe I said them all to you.
pretty speeches whenever we're apart. But when you're near, the words I choose refuse to leave my heart. So take the sweetest phrases the world has ever known and make believe I've said them all to you.
Well, Jackie, next week you're going to have a chance to compare notes with another guest from Hollywood, John Payne.
John Payne? Oh, I saw him in that picture of the Daly sisters with Betty Grable. Boy, what a scene that was, where Betty Grable says goodbye to him. She wore a short dancing dress, cut way down to here, and her blonde hair was in curls, and she had on long red silk stockings.
And what did Mr. Payne do?
How should I know? I couldn't watch everything. Good night, Mr. Daly.
Good night,
The Continental Celebrity Club is produced and directed by Mark Slobe. Diana Lynn appeared through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures and will soon be seen in Our Hearts Were Growing Up and Easy Come, Easy Go. Next week, we'll have, in addition to Jackie Kelk, Margaret Whiting, Ray Bloch's music, and John Daly, that star of stage and screen, John Payne. Be sure to join us then. The Continental Celebrity Club is brought to you by the 25,000 men and women of the Continental Can family, producing for the health, welfare, and happiness of the nation. For the biggest show in town, be sure to listen Saturday night to CBS, beginning with the Helen Hayes Show at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.